ladies and gentlemen, status quo already shows to us that schools have already started doing things like deprioritizing topics like humanities, liberal education, showing proof that what used to be important, what used to be valued by society, may no longer be as relevant in today's economy, in today's situation in status quo. It shows to us that the world is actually evolving and that there is a need then to adapt, and we in Open and Government side will show to you why this is such so in this debate. But before we move on to my argument, first of all, a few rebuttals. Opening opposition opens up and tells us the value of having freedom for the child. Having freedom not just for the child to choose, but also for the parent to choose as well. We tell you that if money is so scarce, right, the parent needs to choose for the child the education that he or she needs to go to, then they can still be working students. Such is already present in status quo. Such is already made possible in status quo. Please sit. And why then is this not going to work in the first place? Secondly, we don't want them to further get entrenched in student debt in an industry that may be at risk due to automation and things like that, as already presented by the Prime Minister, which I would further discuss later. Secondly, we tell you that these minors who they value their freedom, minors who are at the guardianship of their parents, already give up choices all the time. That is why they are called minors. They are under the stewardship of their parents. What we eat, what these children eat, what they wear, their starting religion, their starting sexual orientation is already something that is already decided by the parents at the start. Therefore, school is no exception in this case, yes.
An example you should care about in the present and not 30 years later. Without fishers, how do you eat fish?
Sure. We will show you later how actually that premise, right, that how that fishing industry, such vocation, will actually be something that will be automated, as already previously mentioned, and such there will be no longer a need, possibly or highly possibly in the future in the first place, right? Secondly, they tell us that automation hasn't happened yet, so why would it happen now? We tell you firstly, we raised to you firstly the question, will we wait for it to happen then? The difference by the example he has given is that he tells us that in 10 years ago, automation will not happen, it will not happen now. The difference is that the level by which technology has developed this time versus a decade that he has been showing is something that is a far outcry from one another. We tell you that for these people to have we tell you that we will not wait for these people to become irrelevant at the end of the day, where we see a fast-growing automation already happening before our very eyes. Please sit down. It was also quite ironic for the leader of opposition to raise such stance, to raise such idea, wherein he is actually staying in one of the most advanced countries here in the world. We tell you that automation is actually happening before his very eyes by seeing all these unmanned convenience stores, all these unmanned ice cream shops, all those self-checkout counters that you see in Lotte Mart or whatever mart he or she goes to, right? All of these things are happening because of automation, because technology enables these things to happen. We see that before people are needed for these checkout counters, you need staff to man these convenience stores, but now those jobs are slowly disappearing, especially in such countries where we see such advancement. Please sit down. We tell you then that given this, as time progresses, the rate of adoption increases and the access to AI, the access to technology that will slowly replace all these vocational jobs, and other tech becomes cheaper and cheaper because we have more advances in the research that goes into it. It's just like smartphones, which used to be very expensive, only accessible to those who are rich, but are now accessible to us, the general public. We tell you that yes, there would always be a need for fishes because all of us would need to eat. But we tell you the method by which these fishes or whatever vocational output he or she races to us at the end of the day may then be sooner or later replaced by this evolving AI. Given those rebuttals, we then move on to the meat of my substantives, right? As to why if we go with the dual ladder system, we will actually be further entrenching the lower or middle socioeconomic classes that he actually wants to protect in his speech. Why? Why the middle and low income economic social classes? Because these people are actually the ones who are inclined to take these vocational courses. Why? Because they need to be able to work immediately. Why? Because they do not have, as they have already mentioned, it is their families that do need the salary, that do need the additional income immediately. The problem here is that these vocational courses, even if we remove the idea that automation will replace them, we see that these vocational courses are the ones that have restricted career progression, the ones that have restricted salaries that they can work with, the one that has restricted potential salary growth. Why is that a problem? Because we see that those then who took these jobs could no longer shift out of these jobs later on if they decide to, because they no longer have enough academic background to compete with those that went with the academic track. Why is that a problem? Because now that they're doing all of this job related to the vocational course, because they have such a low salary, they have to work longer hours, they have to work multiple jobs, therefore no longer have the time to study on the side. Why is that a problem? Then they are no longer able to shift out into a career that can give them that increased problem. Why? Given their lower wage, they need then to spend more hours, and if they can therefore no longer study, we would find it hard for them to study on the side, and they can no longer find it hard to shift to better paying jobs. And for all these reasons, we are very proud to propose. Thank you.